Hey everybody, welcome back to Eric Loubert Horror Movie Reviews. Have I never reviewed the Evil Dead Trilogy? I talk about it all the f***ing time. The Evil Dead, 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 Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, 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 Evil Dead. So yes, the Evil Dead trilogy is huge amongst horror fans. It's a must-see for all horror fans, and I guess the reason why you haven't reviewed it is because there's nothing new that can be said about it. Everybody has... it would be beating a dead horse. There's no real point to reviewing it. I don't have any unique opinions to give about it, so I'm just gonna give a little retrospective, if you will, about the movies. Of course, they're gonna have a little review in each of them, but yeah, we'll see where this goes. So, my first time watching the first Evil Dead from 1981 was, I'd say a couple years ago, and I thought it was really, really cool. It was when I was first starting to get into horror movies, thanks to James Rolfe and his Cinemassacre Monster Madness marathons, and as a result, a lot of the movies he reviewed struck my fancy, so I ordered a bunch of them on Amazon, because I had this prepaid card thing where I would get my allowance on, so I would just spend it on Amazon, and I got the Evil Dead trilogy, and I watched it, and it was, well, I'm talking about the first one. I watched the first Evil Dead, and it was extremely, extremely cool. One of my favorite horror movies that I had watched. I hadn't watched that many, but it was definitely really entertaining. So, in case you don't know, or if you've been living under a freaking boomstick, The Evil Dead is about this guy named Ash and a bunch of friends who go to spend a night in a cabin, and there's this Book of the Dead that's in the cabin. So some dummy finds a tape recorder, and they play back the tape, and it has translations from the Book of the Dead, and that resurrects the whole Evil Dead. People start turning into deadites, and all hell breaks loose. So, one thing to mention, from a filmmaking standpoint, to me, what stands out is the camera work. Most of it is handheld, which is very weird for movies. Even though this was an independent film, it's still odd. And this one trademark camera technique that Sam Raimi kind of popularized was this speeding through the woods kind of deal. You'll see it in every Evil Dead movie. Actually, you'll see it in every Sam Raimi movie that you ever watch. Even Oz the Great and Powerful, in the very beginning, there's a shot like that. So, yeah, it's definitely a camera technique that I've become a big fan of, and I really want to use it on my next horror film. So, another thing to mention with Evil Dead, you can't talk about Evil Dead without talking about gore and special effects, because the special effects and the gore are freaking phenomenal in this one. It's not the most convincing, not the most realistic looking, but it's still really cool and crafty. And near the end, there's a stop motion sequence of all the deadites like disintegrating, and it is really awesome and disgusting. So, you know, the acting is, to me, it's subpar. Even Bruce Campbell wasn't as good of an actor as he is now. He wasn't... He hadn't honed his skills yet, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's just my opinion on the acting. You know, but I could go with better actors. But keep Bruce Campbell in there, because he's the man. So, I am going to give The Evil Dead a 9 out of 10, because it is one of the movies that has influenced me stylistically as a filmmaker, and it was one of my favorite horror movies that I watched when I was first starting to watch horror movies. And I thank James Rolfe for introducing me to the Evil Dead trilogy, or else, you know, I wouldn't have these movies that I love so much. So next week I'm going to be talking about Evil Dead 2, And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time.